I never thought I'd end a man's career with a single tweet, but there I was, fingers flying over a keyboard in a body that wasn't mine, watching the Dow Jones plummet because of words I'd typed in a vengeful haze. The son of a bitch who'd humiliated me hours earlier, my own daughter's new husband, didn't know it yet, but his empire was crumbling under the weight of my stolen influence. And the real kicker? I'd taken the fall for his family's dirty secrets 20 years ago, rotting in a cell while they built fortunes on my silence. It started with that godforsaken toast at the wedding. The Grand Hyatt in Midtown Manhattan, all crystal glasses clinking like fragile egos, the air thick with the scent of overpriced orchids and old money. My daughter, Emily, glowed in her Vera Wang gown, oblivious to the storm brewing. She'd always been my light, the one good thing I'd clawed out of a life of regrets. But her groom, Harlan Voss, 28, Wall Street shark with a jawline sharper than his insider trades, had other plans. As the best man wrapped up his speech, Harlan grabbed the mic, his eyes locking on me like a predator spotting roadkill. "Ladies and gentlemen," he drawled, that Ivy League smirk splitting his face, "let's raise a glass to family, especially the ones who taught us what not to do." The room tittered. He paused, letting it build. "Like my father-in-law here, McKinley Hayes, the man who once ran a legitimate auto parts business, until the feds decided it was a front for something a little more explosive." Laughter rippled, louder now, as heads turned my way. I stood there in my rented tux, fists clenched at my sides, feeling the heat crawl up my neck. "But hey, Pops, thanks for the cautionary tale. Without your screw-ups, I might have ended up honest." The room erupted. Emily's face drained of color, but she forced a laugh, whispering apologies into his ear later like it was all a joke. It wasn't. Harlan knew exactly what he was doing, eviscerating the last shreds of my dignity in front of 200 guests, including senators and CEOs who'd whispered about my past for years. I was 62, a widower scraping by on a pension from a job I hated, and he'd just painted me as the family black sheep. Worse, he knew the truth. That screw-up was me taking the rap for his father's arms smuggling ring back in the 90s. I'd been the fall guy, 5 years in Leavenworth, all to protect the Voss legacy. And now, this punk was rubbing it in my face on the happiest day of my daughter's life. I slipped out to the balcony, the December chill biting through my shirt, the Hudson River glittering below like a vein of black oil. My hands shook as I lit a cigarette, old habit from prison days. "Bastard," I muttered, exhaling smoke into the night. That's when it happened. A freak storm rolled in off the river, lightning cracking the sky like God's own whip. The air hummed, electric and wrong, and a bolt, impossibly precise, slammed into the railing inches from my feet. I remember the jolt, not pain but a searing white-hot rewrite, like my soul was being yanked through a keyhole. Then blackness. When I came to, I wasn't me. Not in body, anyway. I was staring at a mirror in a penthouse bathroom overlooking Central Park, but the reflection was Harlan's, sharp features, blonde hair slicked back, eyes like chips of Arctic ice. My hands, his hands, were steady, manicured, no calluses from years wrenching engines. Panic hit like a freight train. I stumbled back, crashing into a marble vanity, bottles of cologne scattering like spent shells. "What the fuck?" The voice was his, smooth, commanding, the kind that closed billion-dollar deals. But the thoughts were mine. McKinley Hayes, the washed-up ex-con, trapped in the skin of the man who'd just buried me alive. I don't know how or why. Science. Curse. Some cosmic joke from the universe that finally decided to even the score? All I knew was I had his phone, his laptop, his goddamn life at my fingertips. And Emily, my Emily, was downstairs in the bridal suite, probably wondering where her new husband had vanished to. The wedding after-party was in full swing, but I couldn't face her like this. Not yet. Instead, I locked the door, sank into his ergonomic chair, and started digging. Harlan Voss wasn't just a finance bro, he was a kingpin in the shadows. His family had clawed their way from old East Coast mob ties to legitimate power, Voss Capital, a hedge fund that moved markets like chess pieces. But the dirt? Oh, it was there, buried under layers of NDAs and offshore accounts. I accessed his encrypted files with a thumbprint that was now mine, heart pounding as folders unfolded, emails tying him to election meddling, payoffs to regulators, even whispers of deepfakes used to smear rivals. And the big one, the secret I'd carried like a tumor for 2 decades. Back in '98, Harlan's father, Senator Elias Voss, had orchestrated a deal to smuggle military-grade components through my auto shop. When the feds closed in, Elias pinned it on me, his loyal employee. I took the plea deal to spare Emily's future. Elias had dirt on her mother, my late wife, from her wild college days. 5 years of my life gone. And Harlan? He'd been 18 then, interning at his dad's firm, watching it all unfold like a twisted apprenticeship. Now, with his access, I could unravel it all. But revenge isn't clean, it's a slow poison. My first move was subtle. An anonymous tip to a SEC whistleblower line, using Harlan's IP scrubbed through a VPN he had bookmarked. By midnight, as the city slept under a blanket of snow, the first cracks appeared. A junior analyst at a competitor firm leaked a memo. Voss Capital manipulating biotech stocks. Twitter, X, whatever the hell they call it now, lit up. Voss scandal trended by 2 a.m., memes of Harlan as a cartoon villain flooding feeds. But I wasn't done. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving, and I was already in his office at Voss Tower, a glass monolith piercing the Manhattan skyline. His assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Carla, handed me a latte without batting an eye. "Morning, Mr. Voss. Board's expecting you at 9. And your father-in-law. He seemed off last night." I forced Harlan's smile, the one that disarmed boardrooms. Family, Carla. Always complicated. Inside, I was screaming. Where was the real Harlan? In my body, probably waking up in a cheap motel room I'd crashed in pre-wedding, hungover and confused as hell. The board meeting was a powder keg. I sat at the head of the table, these suits and Brioni eyeing me like I held their pensions in my palm, which I did. "Gentlemen," I said, channeling every prison yard bluff I'd ever pulled, "we've got exposure." "That leak? It's the tip. We're pulling out of the pharma shorts, now." Gasps rippled. Harlan would have doubled down, bluffing through the volatility. But McKinley Hayes? I knew desperation, knew when to fold M. By noon, Voss stock dipped 5%, and the street was buzzing. Voss's heir apparent cracking under pressure? Emily called mid-afternoon, her voice a mix of concern and that new wedded glow. "Harlan, where were you last night?" "Dad." He left upset. "And now this news about your firm? Are you okay?" I gripped the phone, throat tight. Hearing her call me by his name twisted the knife. "I'm fine, babe. Just business. Your old man's tougher than he looks." Lies, all of it. But I couldn't tell her. Not yet. Not until I had the leverage to burn the Voss name to ash. That night, as snow blanketed the city, I escalated. Using Harlan's verified account, I posted a cryptic thread. "When family secrets fund empires, who's really pulling the strings?" Legacy of lies. Attached, a redacted email from 1998, Elias Voss instructing the frame job on Hayes. The internet exploded. CNN picked it up by 10 p.m., pundits dissecting it like a fresh kill. "Is this Voss's golden boy turning whistleblower?" One anchor crowed. Harlan's phone, my prison now, blew up with panicked text from his father. "What the hell are you doing? Delete it now." I didn't. Instead, I drove. In his Porsche, the engine purring like a contented beast, to the family estate in Westchester. The real Harlan was there, I figured, in my body, trying to piece together the nightmare. Security waved me through. After all, I was the boss's son. The mansion loomed, all Gothic revival stone and secrets, Christmas lights twinkling mockingly. I found him, me, in the library, pacing in my old flannel shirt, face pale and drawn. What did you do?" he stammered, voice cracking in my gravelly timbre. I laughed, Harlan's polished chuckle echoing off the bookshelves. "Me? You're the one who started this, kid. That toast. You might as well have handed me the keys." His eyes widened. My eyes, terrified and small. "This isn't possible. The lightning. It's some kind of..." He trailed off, clutching his head. "Switch. Yeah. And now I've got your life, your power. Time to settle scores." He lunged, but I was faster in this younger frame. A quick jab to the gut, prison basics, and he crumpled, gasping. "You took everything from me once," I hissed, kneeling to meet his gaze. "My freedom, my name, my daughter's respect. Your old man framed me to save his ass, and you glorified it." Harlan, in my body, wheezed, "Emily. She'll never believe you. You're nothing." That's when the twist hit me, harder than any bolt. As I zip-tied his wrists with cords from the desk drawer, My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Emily. Not to Harlan. To me, McKinley. Dad? Something's wrong with Harlan. He's acting crazy, ranting about body swaps. And that tweet. It's from his account, but it mentions you. Please, come home. My blood ran cold. She'd seen through the cracks. But worse, a follow-up text from an unknown number. Elias Voss, we need to talk. The truth about your wife isn't what you think. The old bastard knew. Somehow, he'd pieced it together, or maybe he'd been pulling strings all along. I left Harlan Trust in the library, slipping out into the storm-lashed night. The drive back to the city was a blur, wipers slapping rhythmically against the truth clawing at me. What did he mean about Sarah, my Emily's mother? She died of cancer 10 years back, clean and quiet. Or so I'd thought. By the time I reached the wedding hotel, now a ghost of tinsel and regret, the media circus had descended. Vans with satellite dishes clogged the streets, reporters shouting questions at anyone in a tux. Mr. Voss, is the scandal tied to your in-laws? I pushed through, Harlan's face a shield, until I reached Emily in the lobby bar. She looked wrecked, mascara-streaked, clutching a champagne flute like a lifeline. Dad, no. She was staring at Harlan's body, but her eyes searched for me. Harlan, what's going on? That post. It's about Dad taking the fall for Grandpa Voss. Is it true? I froze. The room spun. How much to say? I started, voice cracking despite the polish. It's more than true. It's why I did time. Your grandfather. He used me. Her face crumpled, but there was fire there, my fire. And you? Posting that. Risking everything. For justice, I whispered. For us. That's when the doors burst open. Not cops, worse. Feds, badges flashing, surrounding us. Harlan Voss, you're under arrest for securities fraud and conspiracy. Cuffs snapped on my wrists, his wrists, as cameras flashed like accusatory stars. Emily screamed, wait. It's not him, it's Dad. Something happened. But they didn't listen. Dragged out in front of the nation, I was the villain now, Voss air caught in his own web. The spotlight I'd seized turned scorching, every channel dissecting my confession tweet. Prison loomed again, this time in a jumpsuit that fit too well. In the holding cell, cold concrete biting my palms, Elias visited under the guise of counsel. Gray hair slicked, suit impeccable, he leaned in with that senatorial smile. McKinley, or should I say, Harlan? Clever trick with the storm, but I rigged the evidence trail years ago. Your wife's cancer? Assisted. To keep her quiet about the smuggling. And now, this body swap nonsense? They'll call you insane. Emily's already doubting. Rage boiled, but so did clarity. The twist, it wasn't just betrayal, it was erasure. I'd swapped into power to destroy them, but they'd anticipated the fall guy returning. My controversial call. And it all. I slipped a smuggled burner phone. Carla, loyal to the real Harlan but feeding me scraps, and texted a full dossier to the Times. Unredacted files, Sarah's medical records tampered with, the works. By morning, the reversal hit. Headlines screamed. Voss senator implicated Ian wife's death, smuggling cover-up. Harlan, in my body, was released as the victim, blubbering on live TV about imposters. But Emily? She saw it. Visited me in the chaos, eyes fierce. Dad, I know it's you. Fight this. The climax came in the courtroom, not with fists but words. Me in Harlan's body, on trial, but twisting the narrative. Your Honor, test me. The man claiming to be me? He doesn't know our safe word. Chaos. Psych eval ordered. And in the psych ward, under fluorescent hum, the real Harlan confessed, broken, begging for the swap back. But lightning doesn't strike twice. We didn't swap back. Fate, or whatever cruel god, left me in his skin. I took a plea, reduced, thanks to the dossiers, served 2 years in minimum, emerging to a world where Voss Capital was dust, Elias disgraced, and suicided in his cell, officially, anyway. Emily waited, built a life away from the name. Controversial? Hell yes. I stole a man's body, orchestrated a fall that ruined innocence in the firm. Hero or monster? You decide. But as I stand now, 64 in a 30-something frame, watching the skyline from a modest brownstone, I light that cigarette. Revenge tasted like ash, but damn if it didn't burn bright. The psych ward smelled like bleach and broken dreams, the kind of place where fluorescent lights buzz eternally, casting shadows that whispered doubts into your skull. It was January now, the wedding's confetti long swept away, replaced by the gray slush of a New York winter seeping through cracked windows. They had me, Harlan's body, McKinley's mind, strapped to a bed in isolation, for drip-feeding sedatives that dulled the edges but not the fury. Body dysmorphia with delusional features, the shrink had scribbled, her pen scratching like nails on a chalkboard. Delusional. If only she knew the half of it. Emily visited daily, slipping past the orderlies with a visitor's pass and that unyielding haze grit. She'd aged a decade in weeks, her wedding ring pawned to fund lawyers who specialized in extraordinary circumstances. Sitting by my bed, she'd clasp my hand, Harlan's hand, and search my eyes for the father she'd lost. "Tell me it's true, Dad. That you're you." I'd squeeze back, voice low. "Remember the summer you were 10? The firefly jar we caught in the backyard? You named the biggest one Sparkles, and when it died, you cried for a week." Tears welled, but she nodded, fierce. "Only you knew that. Okay, we're getting you out." Outside, the world I'd ignited raged on. My tweet, Harlan's tweet, had snowballed into a media apocalypse. Late-night hosts roasted Voss Capital as the hedge fund that hedged its bets on hell. Protests outside Elias Voss's D.C. brownstone chanted "Fall Guy No More," signs scrawled with my old mugshot juxtaposed against Harlan's smirk. The SEC froze assets, FBI raided offices, and Carla, that sharp assistant, flipped like a pro, testifying to irregular orders from the boss the day after the wedding. Irregular? I'd made them biblical. But power like Harlan's didn't crumble without claws. Elias, from his Senate office, spun the narrative. A tragic case of corporate sabotage by a disgruntled relative. Me, the ex-con in-law, hacking accounts in a jealous rage. It stuck, because America loves a redemption arc for the elite and a villain for the working stiff. Polls showed sympathy for the Voss, boy wonder, victim of his own hubris. And Harlan? In my body, he'd lawyered up fast, spinning tales of gaslighting by his erratic father-in-law. Interviews painted him as the hero, bandaged from our scuffle, voice cracking with feigned vulnerability. I married into love, but this is madness. Madness. The word echoed as I lay there, plotting. The sedatives wore off enough for me to palm a paperclip from a nurse's card, picking the restraint locks by feel, skills from Leavenworth that no amount of therapy could erase. Midnight shift, I slipped the halls, dodging cameras, heart hammering in this stolen chest. The ward's computer lab was unmanned, a relic for therapeutic emails. I logged in with a pilfered password, Hope123, because irony's a bitch, and dove back into Harlan's digital grave. What I found chilled me deeper than any cell block draft. Encrypted folders, nested like Russian dolls. Not just the smuggling, but a web of modern sins. Voss Capital hadn't stopped at arms. They'd pivoted to data, harvesting voter info for foreign clients. Deepfakes of politicians in compromising scenarios peddled to the highest bidder. And Sarah, my Sarah, medical files falsified. Her cancer diagnosis laced with timestamps from Elias's aide. Assisted? No, engineered. A slow poison in her chemo drip to silence her after she stumbled on the books during a family audit at my shop. She'd confronted him, threatened exposure. He made it look like fate. Nausea hit, but so did resolve. Controversial decision number 1. I didn't just leak it, I amplified. From the ward's IP, masked through Tor, I uploaded the lot to WikiLeaks tip line, timestamped with Harlan's digital signature. By dawn, as orderlies found my empty bed, the servers lit up. Voss Dynasty, poison, porn, and power, screamed the Guardian splash. Deepfakes? Samples included a fabricated clip of Elias in a hotel with a lobbyist, timestamped to his re-election night. The fallout? Immediate. His office doors bolted, staff fleeing like rats. They recaptured me by noon, tackled in the snow-slicked parking lot by tactical gear that smelled of fresh starch. Escape attempt. They barked, tossing Harlan's frame until it twitched like a landed fish. Back in restraints, but the damage was done. Emily burst in hours later, eyes wild. "Dad, it's everywhere. Grandpa's resigning. But Harlan, he's suing for defamation, claiming you're impersonating him." Impersonating. The word twisted, because in a way, she was right. I'd become the monster to slay one. The trial prep was a circus, Manhattan courthouse swarming with true crime podcasters and TikTok sleuths debating the wedding swap like it was fiction. My public defender, a harried kid named Ruiz, pushed an insanity plea. "We get you committed, not convicted," he urged. But I saw the trap, locked away, medicated into oblivion, while Harlan rebuilt in my skin. No, my play. Take the stand, blow it open. Risky as hell. Perjury in a stolen body. But the truth was my only weapon. Court day dawned muggy. April rain sheeting the windows like tears. The gallery packed. Emily front row, Harlan beside her in my old suit, looking every bit the grieving elder. Judge Harlan, irony's thumb in my eye, was a no-nonsense type, ex-prosecutor with a Brooklyn accent. "Mr. Voss," he drawled, "you claim identity theft via supernatural means?" Snickers from the jury. I stood, Harlan's poise masking my tremor. "Not supernatural, Your Honor. Opportunistic. The lightning was real. Check the Hyatt security cams. But the swap? Call it karma catching up. I laid it out. The frame job, Sarah's murder, the data empire. Evidence projected on screens, screenshots I'd smuggled via Emily. Gasps, then silence as Elias took the stand, summoned by subpoena. Grayer now, but that smile lingered. "Lies from a desperate man," he intoned. "My son-in-law's under duress, Stockholm from the old con." Then the cross. Ruiz, feeding me lines via hidden earpiece, pushed. "Senator, explain this email authorizing the toxin in Sarah Hayes's 4. Elias blanched. Fabricated. But the jury smelled blood. Whispers spread. He's sweating. Climax built like thunder. Harlan, my body, testified next, voice quavering in my timbre. "He's not my father-in-law. He's a fraud, obsessed with destroying us." But his eyes darted, and when I locked gazes, I saw the crack, fear. In a move that made headlines for Theatrics Gone Mad, I demanded a DNA swab. Mine, his, Emily's. If I'm Harlan, it'll match. If not, the lab rushed it. 2 days of agony and lockup. Verdict day, the courtroom hummed electric. Judge cleared his throat. Jury finds the defendant. Not guilty by reason of temporary insanity induced by verifiable anomaly. Anomaly. Their word for the impossible. Cheers from Emily, sobs from Harlan. But the twist reversed everything. The swab proved it. Harlan's DNA in my old body, mine in his. Science bent. Headlines screamed, medical miracle or hoax. Released, I hugged Emily. Awkward in this frame, but she clung. "We fixed this, Dad." Somehow, Harlan vanished, slinking to a clinic in Switzerland, chasing reversal treatments that bankrupted him. Elias? Found hanged in his study, note blaming the storm. Official suicide. Unofficially? My doing? Debates raged online. Justice or murder? I reclaimed a life, but not mine. Voss assets liquidated. I funneled proceeds to victims, data breach survivors, Sarah's memory fund. Controversial? Absolutely. I profited from theft, bodies and souls. Emily divorced the name, if not the idea, building a non-profit exposing corporate sins. We meet Sundays, her kids calling me Uncle Har, a lie we live. But nights, alone, I trace scars that aren't mine, wondering if the lightning was mercy or curse. Revenge won, but at what cost? You tell me. Summer heat baked the city relentless, turning Central Park into a steam bath where joggers wilted and hot dog vendors hawked salvation. 6 months post-trial, and I was still Harlan Voss to the world. ID, fingerprints, the works. The swap stuck like tar, a cosmic middle finger that left me navigating his life with McKinley's baggage. Emily had insisted on the brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, a compromise, close enough for family dinners, far from the penthouse ghosts. "Start fresh, Dad," she'd said, handing over keys. Fresh, as if you could launder a soul. Mornings, I woke to his reflection, taut skin, no aches in joints that used to creak like rusted hinges. I'd brew coffee strong as regret, scrolling news on his tablet. The Voss fallout lingered, class actions piled like lawsuits in a divorce, Elias's vacant Senate seat a poison chalice no one touched. Harlan, in my old body, aged prematurely by stress, had holed up in a Florida condo, peddling a memoir. Swapped. A Wall Street survivor's tale. Bullshit bestseller, ghost-ridden by hacks who romanticized the freak as fate's prank. He got the pity narrative, I got the scrutiny. My controversial pivot, I didn't hide. Leaned in, actually. Founded Hayes Legacy Fund, under Harlan's name, channeling Voss remnants into anti-corruption tech. AI watchdogs sniffing out deep fakes, grants for whistleblowers. Board meetings in Soho lofts. Me in tailored shirts that itched like lies. Pitching to millennials who saw me as the redeemed prodigal. Voss 2.0, they called it, clapping at TEDx talks where I spun the swap as empathy accelerator. Inside, it burned. Every applause a reminder I'd stolen this platform, this voice that commanded rooms. Emily thrived, though. Divorced quietly, she dove into the fund as COO. Her wedding glow traded for a power bob and heels that clicked authority. Our secret bound us tighter than blood. Late nights decoding dad jokes, only we got. Her kids tumbling in for Uncle Har's stories of fireflies and folly. But cracks showed. Little Tommy, 5, stared at me once over pancakes. Why you look like mommy's ex but talk like Gramps? Emily shushed him, but the question lingered, a seed of doubt. Betrayal's echo came via Carla. She'd quit Voss mid-scandal, but loyalty's fickle. An encrypted email pinged one muggy August eve. He's coming for you. Harlan's rallying old allies. Private eye digging into the lightning footage. Claims it's fraud. You orchestrated it. Orchestrated? If only. But paranoia bloomed. I hired counter-surveillance. Shadows tailing shadows. Turning my life into a Leavenworth rerun sans bars. The tension peaked at the fund's gala. Cipriani's Wall Street dripping opulence. Irony's feast. Crystal chandeliers wept light over black ties and gowns. Donors toasting transparency, with vintages worth my old shop's yearly take. Emily, radiant in emerald silk, linked arms as we entered. You okay? She murmured. I nodded, Harlan's grin masking the knot in my gut. Lead the charge, kiddo. Speech time. Podium under spotlights. Heart thumping like a junked engine. We stand here because secrets destroy. I began, voice steady. I know from the inside. Murmurs. A family buried mine to build theirs. But truth? It's the ultimate swap. Applause swelled, but then, disruption. Doors banged open, Harlan storming in, my old frame gaunt but fierce, flanked by suits and a camera crew. Lies, he bellowed, mic'd for maximum chaos. This imposter stole my life. Check the footage, paid actors, rigged bolt. Gasps, phones out, live streaming the meltdown. Security swarmed, but he thrust papers. Affidavits from witnesses claiming I'd vanished pre-storm, re-emerged as Harlan. Fabricated, but slick, Elias's old playbook. Emily froze beside me, color draining. Harlan. What? He locked on her. Eyes, my eyes, pleading. It's me. Your husband. This thing in my body. It's your father, possessed or whatever. Help me end it. The room fractured, donors fleeing, reporters circling like sharks. My decision, pure controversy, unfolded in seconds. No fight, no denial. I stepped down, mic in hand. Let's talk. Privately. Led him to a side room, Emily trailing, her trust a fragile thread. Door shut, the air thick as a confessional. You look like shit, kid, I said, dropping the polish. Harlan flinched, knew the timbre. Dad, Emily whispered. He lunged, fists flying, but age slowed him. I sidestepped, pinning him easy. Enough. You want proof? The tattoo on your ass from that Dartmouth hazing. Dragon with V for victory. Emily doesn't know, but I do. Because I saw the medicals when I had your access. He sagged, defeated. How? Why you? Bitterness laced his words. I was building something. You? A relic. Emily gasped, piecing it. You knew about Grandpa framing him. And you mocked him anyway. Silence. Then her fury. Get out. Both names. He left broken. Memoir deal tanked by the viral clip. But the damage? Donors pulled, fund teetered. My nights turned pacing the brownstone. Ghosts of Sarah whispering accusations. Was this revenge or recursion? I'd freed myself, but chained others. Emily's marriage a casualty. Harlan's sanity collateral. Twist's shadow loomed in September. A manila envelope slipped under the door. No return, just the real storm. Inside, photos. Me, pre-swap. Meeting Elias in a diner days before the wedding. Blackmail setup? No. Notes in Sarah's hand, detailing her discovery of the poison plot. And a letter. McKinley, I knew. Chose silence to protect Emily. Forgive me. The lightning? I prayed for justice. Be it. Tears hit, hot and unbidden. She'd engineered her end, not Elias, swapped the vials herself, framing him posthumously. Buried secret reversed. I wasn't just the fall guy. I was the blind fool. Controversy peaked. Expose her complicity, taint her memory? Or let it lie, honoring her sacrifice? I chose silence, but leaked the Elias angle harder. Anonymous docs to 60 Minutes. His suicide, reinvestigated, ruled homicide by unknown. Harlan cracked fully, institutionalized, raving of swaps. Emily and I rebuilt the fund, smaller but steelier, her hand in mine at events. Daughter and stepdad, the lie we owned. Yet tension coiled, dark and American. Power's allure, revenge's hollow core. Was I redeemed, or just the new puppeteer? Fall foliage bled crimson across the Palisades, a fiery backdrop to the Hudson's sluggish flow, as if nature itself mourned the year's unraveling. October marked a year since the wedding, and the brownstone had become sanctuary. Bookshelves groaning under legal tomes and Emily's true crime halls, the air scented with her baking experiments gone gloriously wrong. The kids adored Uncle Har, tumbling through weekends with demands for piggyback races my rejuvenated frame handled with glee. But normalcy's a thin veil. Beneath, the currents swirled, pulling at threads I'd frayed in my quest. The fund stabilized, rechristened Sparkle Initiative, Emily's nod to fireflies, our code. We pivoted to youth programs, coding camps exposing kids to ethical AI, scholarships for Fall Guy families. Donors trickled back, drawn by the Voss redemption myth, but whispers followed. That trial was wild. Think he really swapped? I'd smile Harlan's smile, deflect with charm. Inside, McKinley's cynicism gnawed. Truth was debatable, a Rorschach for the masses. Harlan's institutionalization sealed his fate, Florida psych ward, electroshock smoothing the edges of his rage. Visits? Emily went once, emerged hollow-eyed. He's gone, Dad. Thinks he's you now. Poetic, in a tragic vein. No swap back. Doctors called it persistent identity dissociation, prescribing pills that muted his fire. Controversial mercy. I could have pushed for experimental reversals, Swiss clinics peddling neural remaps, but chose oblivion for him. Let the thief rot in the body he'd mocked. Elias's homicide probe dragged, a DC sideshow with congressional hearings grilling ghosts. My leaks bore fruit. Indictments for his aides, a special counsel sniffing Voss remnants. But the reversal twist deepened. Sarah's letter haunted, her self-sacrifice a mirror to my sins. I'd borne the smuggling fall for Emily's future, she'd borne the poison for mine. Cycle of buried secrets, each layer bloodier. Debates online raged, Hayes/Voss, heroic or hypocrite. Forums dissected my gala meltdown, polls splitting 52-48 on deserved comeuppance. My darkest decision crystallized in November, election season's fever pitch. A Voss holdout, Elias's former chief of staff, Randall Tate, approached via backchannel. Join us, he emailed encrypted. Reclaim the legacy. We've got dirt on competitors, deepfakes, voter hacks. Power McKinley. Real power. Temptation slithered, Harlan's ambition echoing in my veins. National spotlight? I could steer it. Expose rivals, crown Emily's causes. Or succumb, become the monster fully. We met in a dive bar off Times Square, neon flickering like faulty synapses. Tate, paunchy in a ill-fit suit, slid a tablet across scarred oak. Watch. Clips played, fabricated scandals on green candidates, primed for drop. One nod, and you're kingmaker. My gut twisted, Sarah's ghost warning. And Emily? I pressed. He shrugged. Collateral. Like always. I smashed the tablet, shards scattering like trust. Tell your ghosts, the fall guy's done falling. Fists flew then. Tate's goons piling on, brass knuckles glancing off ribs that bruised but didn't break. I fought dirty, prison style. Eyes, throats, fleeing into the alley rain with a busted lip and clarity. Controversial? Hell. Escalating to violence in a reformed life. But it severed the last Voss tendril, Tate's crew scattering under Rico heat from my tip. Climax crash Thanksgiving. Family dinner at the brownstone. Emily, kids, a smattering of fund allies. Turkey carved, stories swapped, but the doorbell chimed ominous. Harlan, escaped or paroled, stood on the stoop in my old coat, eyes vacant. McKinley, he rasped, my voice a stranger's. End it. Swap back. Emily paled, shielding the kids. Chaos. He shoved past, ranting of stolen years, lightning's curse. I wrestled him down, neighbors gawking, sirens wailing distant. In the ER wait, zip-tied to a gurney again, the final twist unfurled. Cops pulled me aside. Mr. Voss, Hayes? We ran prints. Harlan's prints on a vial in your kitchen. Poison, same as Sarah's. Frame? No, his. Desperation's last gasp, slipping in during a visit, dosing the pie to force a mutual end, swapping in death. Emily, overhearing, collapsed sobbing. He wanted us all gone. To erase the shame. Truth reversed. Villain wasn't just Elias or Harlan, but the legacy's rot, poisoning from root. Harlan institutionalized permanently, trial skipped for competency. I walked free, but scarred. Sarah's mercy mirrored in my mercy, sparing him the noose. Ending? Debatable by kitsch laced with hope. Emily and I, fused in fractured family, watch her kids chase fireflies in the yard, jars glowing defiant. The spotlight faded. I control nothing now but this borrowed breath. National narratives spun on, podcasts mythologizing the wedding storm, but we live quiet, tense threads weaving toward peace. Revenge? It hollowed, then healed. Worth it? Asked the ghosts. Me? I'd lightning strike it all again, for her light in the dark.